It was, at times, a long, difficult road. But I'm glad it was long and difficult, because if I hadn't gone through hell to get there, the lesson might not have been as clear. You see, kids, right from the moment I met your mom, I knew I have to love this woman as much as I can, for as long as I can, and I can never stop loving her, not even for a second. I carried that lesson with me through every stupid fight we ever had, every 5 a.m. Christmas morning, every sleepy Sunday afternoon, through every speed bump, every pang of jealousy or boredom or uncertainty that came our way. I carried that lesson with me. And I carried it with me when she got sick. Even then, in what can only be called the worst of times, all I could do was thank God. Thank every God there is or ever was or will be, and the whole universe and anyone else I could possibly thank. That I saw that beautiful girl on that train platform, and that I had the guts to stand up, walk over to her, tap her on the shoulder, open my mouth, and speak.
So this has been kind of a weird week for me. Like, for years I've been saying that How I Met Your Mother is somewhat like the sitcom equivalent of Lost. Both shows were long-running series built around a central mystery and employed flashbacks and flash-forwards as a narrative device. And now they kind of have a new thing in common. They both ended with a very polarized fan base. Now, with television, I tend to form like a really deep connection with the characters and the storytelling. Like when I'm hooked on a show, I gain like an encyclopedic knowledge of the series and use pretty much every moment I spend not watching thinking about it. But oddly enough, I hardly ever really give any really serious thought about the ending. Subconsciously, I think this is because when it ends, I'd rather see how the writers visualize the ending rather than try to think of an ending that would suit my viewing experience. So I think that's what makes me like polarizing endings. I analyze a show for years and memorize scenes and story arcs and character points, all to the point that I know everything about the show. But I still give the series finale over to the creators because as much of a connection as I have with the show, it's never my show or my creation, so I always trust the writers to end it well. So I've spent a lot of time on this podcast and in my everyday life explaining why Lost's finale was flawless and perfect. And I really think the people who hate Lost's ending were just focused on the wrong thing and not paying attention to what the writers were trying to say. And now, How I Met Your Mother has ended, and the fan base is on fire with disappointment and condemnation and feelings of betrayal, and all just really feels really, really familiar to me. So instead of spending hours upon hours of podcast recording time circling back to this finale, I'm going to speak directly to all the people who were disappointed with the way the show ended. And I'm going to do that now. Dear disgruntled How I Met Your Mother fan base, right? Sincerely, Matt Hurt.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
I got a little worried there.
Yeah.
It almost felt like a personal attack on me.
No.
Well, clearly not. But I was worried.
Yeah, it was... I'll start off by saying this. Whenever a show ends for me, it's always kind of not even really bittersweet. It's never really bittersweet for me because it's always like, okay, well, I've loved the show for years and now it's ending. And so now I'm basically celebrating it, and it's like I'm finishing a book. It's like I have this complete piece of work to contemplate for pretty much as long as I watch the show to begin with. So it's usually after the finale, I'm always like, oh, okay, well, I see how all these pieces fit together, and I have a good time, and I like thinking about it. But this week, I just felt in the dumps about it.
Let me say a few things.
Yeah, go right ahead.
If you don't mind. First of all, I want to say you use the word polarizing, and I think I'm going to call you on that. I don't think it's very polarizing. Polarizing is there are people who love it and people who hate it. I think there are people who were like, meh, and then there were people who hated it.
I think there are...
I don't know anybody who loved it.
I've seen some people saying that they loved it and thought it was perfect, and I'm sure that people are going to come around to it like after rewatching it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think...
I've seen zero positivity.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
Granted, I haven't been seeking it out.
Yeah.
My brother said he likes it with a smirk. He was like, I liked it, but mostly because I'm just trying to like it.
Huh.
I was, I haven't made an official statement, but if you couldn't tell, I didn't like it. I was devastated.
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
absolutely devastated by it. And as this conversation goes on, I'll give you an explanation of why.
Sure.
But quickly, I'll tell you how I watched it. It was I watched it Monday. I didn't watch it live. My wife was in San Diego, so she did not get to watch the show until 10 o'clock Central Time, which is a half an hour past my bedtime. But I wanted to watch it the night of, and I wanted to watch it with my wife, so we FaceTimed and we watched it. And I was up tossing and turning that night for another 2 hours about it. And that Tuesday was pretty awful.
Can I just say, though, you FaceTiming with your wife to watch it is adorable.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's very Mosby-ish.
I was going to say, it's almost How I Met Your Mother-ish, isn't it?
It is. And it's kind of... I get it. I mean, I get... How about this? Tiny, first of all, what did you think of the finale?
I wasn't devastated. I think I've just disconnected from the show so much over the last couple of years that I just quit building up the finale. Yeah. And so it was almost like it was like reading a 3,000-page book. I just wanted to get to the end. It didn't necessarily matter what it was.
Right.
Which sounds a little bit too critical than how I actually think of the show, but I was just glad it was over, to be honest, and I was fine with it. I didn't like it that much, but I didn't hate it. I wasn't devastated. But I completely understand all the criticism so far.
Right.
I can't refute any of it.
Yeah.
So
I can't even say that I loved it from the beginning, as you know, Matt. It took me a while.
It did.
In fact, when I finished the first season, I texted you and I was like, I mean, it's no Friends.
And you also said, I hate Robin.
I did. You're right. Yeah. I did say that. I did. But it went 9 years, and I went in the middle of season 5. Like, literally, I finished it over the Christmas break of season 5. So I've watched live exactly half of the show.
Okay, yeah.
So I would think I'm invested enough to call myself a super fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
up
absolutely.
Until Monday night.
Yeah, it was... You know, I'm back and forth. I keep trying to collect my thoughts about it, and I have some broad ideas of how I feel about it, but it's kind of... It didn't leave me... First of all, the first half or so of the episode, it felt like a classic sitcom ender finale and everything, but it still felt a little strange, I guess, in that arena. But it was... I guess I can accept the idea of the mother, which let's go ahead and say her name, Tracy, dying. I can accept that and everything.
So can I.
But I think the biggest part of it, like I will go so far as to say that when I rewatch the series, those last 3 minutes aren't going to exist. I'm just not going to watch them.
Yep.
But even still, like, we can get into the whole Robin thing in a bit, but I mean, just even with the mother dying, it just seems really harsh. And I get it. I get the message being that, you know, life isn't fair or whatever. take moments or cherish the moments you have and like go for it and everything. It was all expressed in that big monologue that I'm going to open this episode with, where he talks about how he took the chance and he got to spend the time with Tracy that he had, and he didn't regret it, and he didn't he carried lessons with him to love her every day. And I mean, okay, yeah, that's a great message. And I can't even disparage the show for sending that message, because it has been at times a pretty dramatic show. Mm-hmm. But to end it with Robin was just such a step backwards. I mean, I've been saying for the last 4 years that the whole Robin and Ted thing is getting really played out and tired. Mm-hmm. And that's because I knew throughout the entire run of the series, everyone knew she's not his like soulmate. Like he's the kind of guy who's all about the finding the one and the soulmate and everything. That's what the entire series was built around. So he finds her, and he has, like, in the grand scheme of things, a limited amount of time with her, which is fine. I can accept that. It's a harsh way to end a character arc, but it's a message, and I guess that's okay. But for him to just go back and be like, okay, well, I'm going to go after Robin again. It's like, what I keep coming back to is Robin essentially just his consolation prize?
Oh, see, I think it's the other way around. I think it gave a negative connotation to his marriage with Tracy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's like she was like a starter wife. You know,
exactly.
like it's like, well, let me just. It's like it was like buying a starter home, right. and you know, figuring out, well, this is what it's like to own a house, and so it's not that great. In a couple of years, we'll move on and get something better. But the show is called How I Met Your Mother, and Tracy is the mother, and they completely downsized her significance or that character. Like, she just didn't, in the grand scheme, it's like she didn't matter, but she's in the title of the show, and it's like, that's what we've been building to for 9 years, and then you realize it wasn't even that important, really. Right. I mean, of course it was important, but it was supposed to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Do you guys mind if I spew for a little bit?
No,
please.
Go right ahead.
I've had a while to gather my thoughts, and I'll try to make this brief because I'm very passionate. And like I said, devastated, and I don't mean that lightly. I was absolutely devastated. And to be honest, and I said this to you guys in the pod chat, that I was not looking forward to recording this episode because I've said so much about it and been so frustrated with it since Monday that there's almost a whole lot that I can't even say anymore. There is so much wrong with that episode. There's so much wrong with what they did at the ending. And I read several articles the day after. And Alan Sepinwall from hitfix.com, I think wrote my favorite article. And he went on to list the 5 things that Carter Bays and Craig Thomas didn't count on before when they conceived their finale. And his 5 things are essentially the basis of what went wrong with the finale. It's no secret bit of trivia that they concocted this finale somewhere around the 2nd season, right?
Right.
They realized that the 2 kids were getting too old and they were starting to live different, so they decided to film an ending, and they filmed that ending, that the mother would die and he would end up with Robin. So what Mr. Sepinwall says on HitFix, and I couldn't agree more with, is they didn't count on a specific number of things happening, and their biggest foul, the biggest problem, and why I'm going to look back on this show and say they did not succeed, is that they were not allowing themselves to change with the characters. Like you said, with Lost, the viewers were looking at the wrong thing, and the finale is not for us to decide; it's for them to decide. However, even less than the creators deciding how the finale goes, I think the story should dictate how the story ends, and the characters and their growth should dictate how the story ends. Here are the things they get wrong. They did not understand that the show would last as long as it did, and it would be one of the longest running comedies CBS has ever had. So they didn't anticipate the fact that Ted and Robin's feelings for each other early on would not necessarily be important later on. And like you alluded to earlier on, Matt, they did a really, really good job of explaining to us why Ted and Robin don't work.
Exactly.
And they did as good, if not a better job of showing why Robin and Barney do work. There was so much growth for Barney in the last 2.5 seasons that for him to fall back into the way he did just as after they divorced was devastating. Yeah. And I know the baby thing was cute. It really was adorable, and I understand maybe that's what he needed to become an adult. But he grew. We saw him grow with Robin, and it's devastating that they broke that up. Oh man, what are the other two? I wish I had these written down. We fell in freaking love with the mother.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We fell in love with the mother. She was too awesome. She toward the end of this show, she was like my favorite character on the show.
Mine too.
And the How I Met Your Father episode is like a top 10 episode for me. So to kill her off was unwise.
Yeah.
The problem, and I'll say it again, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. The problem is that Carter Bays and Craig Thomas neglected to let go of this finale they planned years ago. Because why? For some reason they felt that we needed to see the kids again. I wouldn't have cared if I didn't see the kids again.
Right.
It would have been a slight disservice, perhaps, and we might have said, well, they didn't show the kids. That was a little weird. But for Ted to end up with the mother would have been perfect. It just cheapens so much. You think about shows where the ending is not that good, like Seinfeld. The ending sucks, but I can still go back and to watch Seinfeld and enjoy it. How I Met Your Mother. Anytime there's a mother moment early on in the shows, it doesn't matter because she's the consolation prize.
And like all this growth, I'm sorry to interrupt, but all this growth we saw Ted go through over the last couple seasons where he ridiculously slowly let go of Robin.
Yeah.
It was a whole event in this season,
Yeah.
Does that mean anything anymore?
No,
it doesn't.
It doesn't, yeah.
It doesn't.
Okay, sorry, Mike, continue.
No, that's I was kind of done. I'm glad you helped me. You helped me out.
Are we supposed to when watching the show, when going back and watching the show, are we supposed to think that Robin and Ted are better together than Ted and Tracy?
Because, we are now.
Yeah, and that's what's so insulting to me as a viewer, because I've spent the entire run of the series just thinking of, okay, well, Ted is going through all this stuff, all this heartbreak, but it's all going to be okay because he's going to meet the love of his life. And
right.
To their credit, though, I'll give them all the credit in the world for the scene, for the actual How I Met Your Mother scene.
That was good.
I thought that was perfect. I thought it was just great. They have so much chemistry together, but I don't know. It was just so, and like we talk about how Barney was over the last couple seasons had been developed, and him and Robin worked together in kind of a weird way. And they did, and he did, but for them to just retcon the character and revert him back to his old ways just for the sake of the finale, to have another emotional growth thing in a 40-some minute episode is just reckless.
Yep.
And I liked the scene with him and the baby. I did. I got a little choked up with it.
I did too.
But it was also probably the only scene that I got a little choked up with it. Because even the scene with the mother at the train station on the train platform, even that scene was marred a little bit for me because I knew that she died.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I still thought
it makes me think about is he, he says that he loved her with all his heart all the 15, 16 years they were together or whatever it was. But you're saying he never thought about Robin ever?
Yeah.
Like, of course he did, because now he's back to her. And what has she been doing for 15 years? It's just foolish.
Yeah.
I'm just out of things to say. I just don't understand. I can't. I've been trying, kind of like you have. You might have said it this way, like trying to reconcile some things and trying to make sense of it in your head. But it is a mistake. It is a mistake that Carter Bays and Craig Thomas could not. They came up with that twist in the pilot, and that's how I met your Aunt Robin. Yeah. And they initially out-clevered themselves by saying, well, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot there. People really love Kobe Smulders and Robin. So we need to do something about this. Got it. The mother dies and whatever. And so if you would have told me in like season 4 that that's how the show ends, I probably would have been thrilled. Mm-hmm. But that he grew and they did such a good job of breaking the two of them up.
Yeah.
And an even better job of showing why Ted and the mother are perfect for each other.
Yeah. I mean, she was perfect. That's one of the things that I was kind of nervous about going into season 9 was that they said at one point, like, oh, they're not going to have a perfect relationship or whatever. They're going to have, there's going to be some rocky moments for them. And I'm like, oh, don't do that because it's going to tarnish the image. But I didn't think that those rocky moments would be her with an illness and dying.
Yeah. Well, and then you even said, and then she dies, and that's sad. And that's fine. That's devastating. I would have been sad in another way. But the Robin thing.
Yeah,
I don't care. Nobody wanted them back together. Nobody.
Just to add some friction here, though, and this is just a theory, but if we go back to when Ted and Robin broke up, I think the deciding factor of that was that Ted really, really, really wanted to get married, and Robin really, really didn't. Mm-hmm. And so they had this philosophical difference that they could never take care of. They could never overcome that. So throughout these last, I don't know, what was it, 5 seasons maybe since they broke up, Robin became more attracted to the idea of getting married because she actually gets married. Yeah. And so is there a bit of a reconciliation there in the fact that maybe they could be together again because they were
perfect for each other, except they were a great couple other than that one thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I mean, does that make it somewhat more acceptable to the fact that they got
in a sense? If you're reaching, yes. However, I read another article that said it was the perfect finale for anyone who hadn't been watching the last 5 years.
That's awesome.
Right? It was a finale for all those people who are saying, tell me when he meets the mother.
Yeah.
Is it Robin? It might still be Robin.
And I don't think we got a really great explanation or a demonstration for why Barney and Robin got divorced.
No.
It wasn't. I don't think it was a philosophical thing. I think it was just, she... I don't know. We just don't know what caused them to break up. I don't think it was the fact that Robin is just not a good wife. I don't know if that's it.
I think
Barney was a bad husband.
Yeah, I've been kind of in a funk where it's like I was on board with the whole Robin and Barney thing because I thought that this season they did illustrate their why they work together pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even when he proposed, I was like, that. Okay, well, as long as that keeps Ted away from Robin and all that, which it didn't, but I was like, okay, I can get on board with that. But still, it's like the whole proposal is predicated on him manipulating her, and it just sounds it's just weird. And then
I was over that when that happened. That's kind of another conversation, but
it is.
When that happened, I was like, that's Barney's nature, but I still loved it. The line that I loved was, if Ted lets you go, then that shows that your best bud has let go and gives you his blessing, which now means nothing.
Nothing at all. And I just hate that there was one post on Reddit, on the How I Met Your Mother subreddit, that was like, it just showed a picture of the mother of Tracy, of Kristen Milioti, and it just said she died the way she lived, off screen. And another thing that I saw some people mentioning, and I agree wholeheartedly, is that, like, let's talk about the problems with season 9 as a whole, because what they did essentially was what they did for 22 episodes was they made a whole season's worth of television out of what could have been condensed into one episode, this whole wedding weekend, while for the finale, they crammed in an entire season's worth of story into one episode.
Mm-hmm. They gave us a lot of future.
They really did. And
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Me neither. I really wasn't. And this even goes back to what I was saying last season, that I would have loved for the wedding weekend to be last season's like finale, and then have everything that was in the finale played out throughout this season, and then not have Ted end up with Robin, but kind of have.
I would have loved to have had it exactly how it happened, and then the mother not die, and he doesn't end up with Robin.
Sure.
It's the show was a fantasy. Like, it was so ridiculous the way he was searching for love. It was like a fairy tale. Why couldn't we get the fairy tale ending?
Exactly. It was like, and we talk about how, okay, like you mentioned, Mike, that they kind of shot themselves in the foot by filming this ending with the kids. I have to believe that they had other endings in the can. I would hope that they would have filmed. I remember reading that they said that they filmed a bunch of stuff for the pilot with the kids, just reaction shots and all that. I would have to believe that they recorded or they filmed some kind of alternate endings with the kids, because I would hate for them to be that committed to their ending.
Which do you hate more, though, that they didn't choose the right one? I think I would rather have that they refused to go away from the one they planned. I don't know what's worse.
Well, when they film it around season 2, they're confining themselves to an idea that they have for a vision of the show from season 2. I mean, granted, yeah, right. They didn't know that,
and that's what they did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they did that.
To do that is to forsake all the character development that they're going to put into it. I mean, they could have, and they did kind of steer it in this direction, because Robin doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have kids. She eventually comes around to the idea of marriage. She finds out she can't have kids, so she wants kids and all that. So there is development for that, to where she's changed for that. But how exactly has Ted changed from the beginning to now, to where he is going to be okay with this? It's basically saying that, like, okay, well, he's been waiting 15 years or 25 years for Robin to change, and that's okay, because now they're going to be happily ever after. I just hate that, and I hate that they, like I said, she was like, the mother was the perfect relationship for him that he strived for, and for, like, yeah, and you guys are right. She did become just a stop on the road to Robin, which is so depressing to me, because they built it up so much to be this end-all be-all of Ted Mosby relationships. And we even said on a previous podcast that I think, Mike, you brought this up, that they made her a little too perfect, like the whole Renaissance stuff and the coin collecting stuff. It was almost like she was too much like Ted. And that's okay, because, I mean, for the sake of that character and the story, it was okay that he had a counterpoint that was so much like him.
Right.
But just the fact that she was just a small part of this bigger thing with a character that he already had ended the relationship with years ago was sloppy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, agree with everything you said. And my only point is, like, I don't know what's worse, that they had a better ending filmed and they didn't use it, or what I think happened, they just stuck with the one thing they filmed.
Yeah.
I don't know which. I don't know which it is. We of course will never know what really happened. I believe that this was the ending they had, and they just stuck with it. Damn the critics. But I don't know. I don't know what's best. I don't know which one's better. So disappointing either way.
Yeah. The they've said that they have the original cut of the finale was 18 minutes longer.
Mm-hmm.
So unless that 18 minutes is them completely changing and I don't know how much better it can be.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I can't see them. I don't want to get my hopes up for it, because aside from the ending, the rest of the episode was pretty... Like I said, it felt like a sitcom ending, but it also felt like a sitcom ending. It didn't feel like the How I Met Your Mother ending.
Yeah.
Like case in point, that scene kind of right before the big monologue at the end, before he meets the mother, where they're at the bar and then they're having drinks and everything, and they're celebrating Ted getting married. Marshall turns around and he says to these kids in the booth next to them, like, "Hey, you guys know what happened here?" And then he's like, they're like, "No." And then there's this dramatic pause, and he's like, "Just a whole bunch of stuff." And I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. That is, yeah, sure, but I mean, maybe give a little bit more emotion there. I thought that kind of felt a little flat. That felt like almost like they were just forced into, like, saying, like, okay, well, let's do this, like, let's throw in this little scene where they reference how much fun that they've had at the bar.
Yeah,
it
just felt kind of hollow to me.
It was forced significance.
Yeah,
it was. I kind of agreed. Like I kind of forgave that. I was like, that's not the best line there, but it was still. I got a little feels from it.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that significant of an issue.
Yeah.
But it's still something that shows that, like, I wasn't really that into the finale. It wasn't just the ending. I can't go back and say, well, I loved the finale so much until the last 3 minutes. It was like I was still kind of on the fence.
Right.
And another thing was that the whole I was saying for years, like, Friend or How I Met Your Mother is kind of like, it's kind of, I've said two things, like, it's the sitcom equivalent of Lost, and it's Friends for this decade. And I even got to the point where it was like, okay, well, yeah, it's like Friends, and then it's kind of funny because it's like there's 5 of them and there's 6 people in Friends. It's because the entire series is about them gaining their 6th member in the Mother. So the scenes with Mother in the gang didn't carry that much weight for me, because it was just kind of like standard, like, the gang scenes, only there's this woman there. And, like, they didn't have, and also more tragic, or I guess is the word, season 4, when they had the I can't remember the episode title, but the front porch, that's the episode title. They didn't have their front porch scene with the mother or anything, and if they did, it would be with Robin, which they already showed their version of it, which wouldn't work. Basically,
but Robin changed.
She did, and what they're basically saying with having him end up with Robin, and have Robin, like, coming around to the idea of kids, not being able to have kids, so now she's going to be the stepmother to Ted's kids, is basically that the mother was just a baby machine for him.
Wow,
in the grand scheme of things. It's dark. It is dark,
but
it's
not inaccurate.
Inaccurate. That's right.
It's just
yeah.
So
well, go ahead, Tiny.
I was gonna say, I think you guys mentioned earlier, but my favorite scene of the whole finale was Barney becoming a dad. In that scene, NPH just crushed that scene.
Oh, he did.
That
Yeah,
was
for
awesome.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
hit me in the feels. Yeah,
For sure.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. It was. I don't
If you
know.
guys don't have a whole lot else to say, I kind of want to ask now. What bums me out even more is there's nothing that I watch that I'm that invested in. And I'm sure there will be a show I care about as much as How I Met Your Mother sometime in the future. But there is not one now, which means that anything where I'll have another chance at a good finale is like 10 years away.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Even if we change the scope of that to just sitcoms too, I mean, New Girl's good, but it's not the same emotional connection as
No.
How I Met Your Mother has. How I Met Your Mother for me was something that I clung on to as something that was just really great storytelling. And I mean, they fumbled it in the end, but I don't see a sitcom being able to do that for a while.
And I'll look forward to the end of Modern Family, but it won't have near the opportunity for an emotional punch the way How I Met Your Mother did.
Yeah.
Not at all. No.
I think part of that is that, by definition, How I Met Your Mother was a journey,
Yes.
more so than any other sitcom, because sitcoms are journeys and everything, because you grow with the characters and everything. But I don't know. I think like How I Met Your Mother is very special to me because, like I said, it's like Friends for this decade, but it's also this decade is my 20s.
Yes.
So I
Right.
had a much stronger emotional connection to the characters.
It's your
and things going on.
friends.
Exactly. Yes. So seeing that, and I have all these connections and all these kind of like things like, oh yeah, I can totally
Sympathize?
yeah, okay, yeah, I can totally sympathize with this. I can totally sympathize with this kind of thing or this thing, or I can really have a connection with this thing. But it's just the ending is, I don't know. Do you guys think that the ending will change the way you view the series if you go back and watch it?
Absolutely 100% yes.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest problems. That's why I'm so angry. That's why I'm
Yeah.
so devastated.
And I can't, and that's, like, you can say that the whole Robin thing is just like this big, like, okay, they threw this in and all that, but I mean, they didn't. It was filmed in 2005 or whenever. So I don't know. It's just like you can't say that they didn't know how to end it because they clearly did from a long time ago. But it was just pretty crappy.
Finales, by their nature, are a hard thing to do.
They are.
There's a lot of bad finales. There's a lot of mediocre finales. I'm reminded of like that 70s show, which was really, really, really okay. Mm-hmm. And I love that they brought back Kelso and Eric, and it was fun. Like when it was over, I was like, oh, that was good. It didn't seem like the biggest ending to a thing ever, but I'm satisfied that that's how the show ends. No show I can think of is more affected by its ending than How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Because of, like I said, all the mother moments from before are about consolation prize moments.
Yeah. And the mother moments were the best part of the show.
Absolutely.
And it's just, I mean, like, and there was a scene, or there was a picture online that was saying that we had more. It said we had more closure with this story than we did with Ted and Tracy, and it was a picture of the end scene of one of my favorite episodes of the show, The Window, with Joanna Garcia as the girl that Ted wants from college, but that she keeps getting, every time she's single, she immediately gets into a new relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like the picture was just her and the boy next door guy who married her, like them sitting there or standing on their porch at the end of the episode, and it's like that's true. We had more. That story was more. than Ted and Tracy, because we didn't have much with Ted and Tracy.
It was more more fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I mean, people can say like we're just upset that they didn't grow old together or whatever, but that's not the case.
There's more to it than that.
There's much more to it than that. Yeah, I just don't understand how that happened, or why they thought that would be okay. They
kind of cheated us a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And there's a Matty yawn.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I wish I could say that about the finale.
Yeah.
We knew what was going to happen. They ended up together. He met the mother. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
I wish.
In an alternate
universe, that's how it ended.
Yeah. And it's funny, there was another again, going back to the Reddit well, there was a picture of Ted from the Time Travelers where he sees a vision of himself 20 years in the future, and they're talking, and he's like future Ted is like, well, I'm sure it will be good when I'm married. And then Ted freaks out and he's like, just kidding, I'm married. And it's like, he's not married at that time period, I don't think. So that's just an inconsistency in the storytelling or a plot hole.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of depressing when you see that that's his lowest moment. That's his loneliest moment in the series. And he still has this hope that he's going to be married. And sure, he's with the woman that he will marry for a brief stint, but it's still kind of just depressing to think that he's still not married when he thinks he will be married.
So timeline-wise, I think they were together for 7 years and married for 10. Is that about right?
I think so.
Okay.
7 years, married for 10. She died 6 years before 2013, so 2030.
Right.
So 2024. Yeah, so they were together for 10 years.
Okay. Married for 10 or just together for 10? Married for 3 years?
Married for 3 years, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Well, should we wash our hands of this?
I think so.
I think we have to.
I think we've and it's funny because when I envisioned this bonus episode of the Obsessive Viewer podcast, I saw it as like, okay, well, the show's going to end. I have faith that the show's going to end well. So we're going to have this whole episode where it's going to be like us talking about, okay, the finale, our thoughts on the finale. And then I actually have in my notes, I have like an itinerary of how I thought that this episode would go. And it's like we can talk about how we started, our favorite lines, our favorite jokes, our favorite moments, our favorite episodes, and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't even want to do that. It's just,
I don't either.
It's all insignificant now.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's,
It was the story of his life. But kind of to my point earlier, the story that they gave us, the story that the characters gave themselves over the years, what developed was that Robin wasn't the one and the mother was. Right. That's how the story should have ended. It should have ended How I Met Your Mother, right? Yep. That's how it wasn't initially. What's more important is that the journey is more important. But the way the story was written, the way it was directing, the trajectory it had was that he meets the mother, not Robin.
Yep.
Right.
And I don't know. This is a whole different thing, but I wasn't a big Ross and Rachel fan.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a similar thing for me.
You son of a bitch.
That, I mean, in the grand scheme of Friends, I thought that Chandler and Monica were the better relationship of the two central relationships of the series. But I kind of felt that way about the finale of Friends a little bit. The Friends finale was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, but I thought it was a little weird that they were trying to force this Ross getting Rachel back kind of thing on us when they spent years.
I don't think it was forced apart. At all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there were, I would say, once every season and absolutely every other season, there was a reason that they had a baby together.
Yeah.
And the whole line in the 5th or 6th season where Phoebe's like, you could have everything you want, so why don't you do it? I think they were leading toward that ending the whole time.
See, Ross and Rachel were just too... Wait, I'm not sure what you were saying, but I wasn't a fan of Ross and Rachel. Of course, like any kind of sappy storyline, oh, it'd be cool if they got together, but they weren't really that good together.
No,
I agree.
You know what? And I'll give you that. I don't think they're the greatest couple, and Chandler and Monica are definitely better. But in terms of where the story was going, it was going that they were going to end up together.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely right.
But I will say this, and this is going to get a reaction, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Ted and Robin are a better couple than Ross and Rachel. I know.
Wow.
Because as we pointed out, I mean, the whole thing with Ted and Robin is that they didn't match. Like she didn't want to get married, she didn't want to have kids. He wanted to get married, wanted to have kids, and they changed throughout the series. But Ross and Rachel, Ross was infatuated with Rachel when he was in high school. They got together, and they just didn't. He was a scientist, and she was into fashion. It was kind of. They didn't really have much going on, or they didn't really work that well together.
And I think that's true for a lot of people too. 'Cause, I mean, like, think back to your adolescence, like the girl you had the huge crush on. Would you? I mean, I'm sure there are some exceptions, but the girl I had a huge crush on when I was a kid, we probably wouldn't be that compatible now.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why they're infatuations, and that's why they're when you're adolescent, when you're a teenager and your hormones are raging, you're like, okay, well, she's hot.
Yeah.
It's just
that's the most qualified aspect. The aspect that makes you most qualified is that you're hot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about what you want, not about what's good for you.
Yeah. And it's that is what kind of built up. That was kind of what came through with the Ross and Rachel thing in Friends, was that it was just based on this kind of superficial kind of infatuation from high school.
I will say, I got to argue with you a little bit.
Go right ahead.
You might not be completely wrong. And again, I've seen the whole series of Friends more times than I've seen the whole series of How I Met Your Mother. And it's been a while. But as you remember, I remember not liking Robin. I remember thinking Ted was too good for Robin. So I almost want to say they're the same in that aspect. That Ross is too good for Rachel. And Ted is too good for Robin.
That's kind of... that's super judgy, but...
You're right, it is. And it's just...
I would
it's
say
very, very subjective.
I think it's not that they're one is too good for the other. I think they're just not compatible.
Yeah.
Because I don't think either Rachel or Robin were bad girl, like not marriage material, or like not relationship material.
Right.
Like they're not undesirable women as their personalities. Obviously they're both smoking hot, so of course they're desirable. But I mean, you know what I mean, like relationship wise.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Compatibility.
agree. What I'm saying, and this is subjective, is that Robin was not desirable, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I didn't think she was good. If you looked back on our texts, Matt, I might have said that Ted is too good for Robin.
I'm sure you did. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just
That's just opinion. I don't think you guys are wrong. It all depends on what you look for in a woman.
Yeah.
You're a misogynist. JK.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop.
And one final thing about it, Bob Saget.
Yeah.
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 I was wondering the same thing.
They could have done the perfect. It would have been a good joke for them to have him saying, like Bob Saget start to say, "And that kid is How I Met Your Mother," but then halfway through, kind of go like, "And that kid is," Sorry, and then have it be Josh Radnor's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been a good joke, and a nice little poke at the people who criticize it for Bob Saget narrating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was Josh Radnor the whole time in the finale, right?
Yeah, Bob Saget was not in the finale.
Not in the. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
You know what's funny is Tuesday night, I was trying to get some sleep, and Amanda was watching TV, and Full House was on.
Yeah.
And just the sound of Bob Saget's voice made me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And just and people are pointing out that it's interesting that they chose Bob Saget considering he's famous for Full House, which is a show about a guy
His wife died.
whose wife died. Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So
Very sneaky.
very. So yeah. That about does it for our discussion of How I Met Your Mother, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We'll remember the good times, I guess, but man, that finale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some bonus episode. We hope you enjoyed it.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts, any counter thoughts, or if you have any kind of anything you want to say about How I Met Your Mother, go ahead and tweet us at I'm Matt at Obsessive Viewer, Tiny is at Obsessive Tiny, Mike is at I am Mike White, or email us at ovpodcast@gmail.com. Also like us on Facebook at The Obsessive Viewer, Google+, Tumblr, all that stuff. Also vote for us on podcastland.com for Podcast of the Month, and rate and review us on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. That about does it, I guess. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we
I think that'll do it.
this one? All
No.
right.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Look around, Ted. You're all alone.
Kids, it's been almost 20 years since that cold April night in 2013. And I can safely tell you, if I could go back in time and relive that night, there's no way in hell I'd go to Robots versus Wrestlers. No, I'd go home. I'd go to my old apartment, see all my old furniture, my old stuff. I'd see my old drafting table where I sketched out my first building. I'd sit on that old couch and smell the Indian food cooking 3 stories below. I'd go to Lillian Marshall's place, be back in that old living room where so many things happened. I'd see the baby. I don't know if you can picture me holding your 6'7" cousin Marvin over my head, but back then I could. I'd go have a drink with Barney and Robin, watch them fight about their caterer or whatever it was they were fighting about that night. But none of those things is the thing I do first. You know the thing I do first.
Hi. I'm Ted Mosby. And exactly 45 days from now, you and I are going to meet. And we're going to fall in love. And we're going to get married. And we're going to have 2 kids. And we're going to love them and each other so much. All that is 45 days away. But I'm here now, I guess, because I want those extra 45 days. With you, I want each one of them. Look, and if I can't have them, I'll take the 45 seconds before your boyfriend shows up and punches me in the face. Because I love you. I'm always going to love you. Till the end of my days. And beyond. You'll see.